Now it's time for today's perspective on the programme. And my guest on the programme today is a filmmaker whose film, Land of My Dreams, documents a disturbing part of the recent history of India. Now it shows from the inside, if you like, the protests against the Indian Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. Now the law provides an accelerated pathway for citizenship for many illegal migrants, but crucially, the bill does not mention either Muslims or other communities as well. Now it led to a series of protests across India. At least 27 people were killed. The film itself takes us on a personal journey as well, from the filmmaker Nausheen Khan's former life at university into her quest to discover more about her religion as a Muslim. And Nausheen joins us in just a moment on the programme. But first of all, let's just give you a little feel for the film.
I had never seen anything like this in Jamia. Suddenly, I felt as though I would never be fearless again.
There you go, there's a little flavour for you. Nausheen Khan is joining us now on the programme. Nausheen, thanks very much for being with us. I mean, the clip there shows, doesn't it, some of the violence of what was your former university where you studied, some of those early protests that were held.
Can you repeat the question?
I was just saying it shows some of the violence that we saw in that clip. But what was your former university? What was that like to see?
It was heartbreaking because when I was a student there, it was my home. I felt most protected and safe there. I felt like I could be who I wanted to be. So when I saw the police bait and charge or throw tear gas shells at the students who were by then younger than me, I felt like they were destroying my home, and I instantly picked up my phone and I started recording everything, and I knew that it needed to be archived. And I felt this sense of loss, which I think continues to this day.
So from what you're saying, when you started on that first day, when you went out with your camera, you didn't have the idea of turning it into a film. That came a little later?
I think over the next few days, I realized as it turned into the Shaheen Bagh protest where all the women gathered, I think that's when I realized that it's a feature-length documentary, because before that it was a student protest. But when the mothers of the students and the women, multi-faith women from mostly working class, they gathered in this neighborhood called Shaheen Bagh, and they blocked a national highway, which is an arterial highway in Delhi. And when they came out in huge numbers night after night, that's when I realized that this is a really big and historical moment, and possibly this is going to be a personal documentary.
Yeah, it's very interesting watching the film, because you should say it starts off very much as you watching what's happening, and then more and more you become involved in it, and we start seeing a little bit about your relationship and some of those that joined the protests as well.
Yeah, because I was there the entire time. I was there day and night. The atmosphere was so addictive because it was really this feeling of hope after a long time. I just wanted to be with these women all the time because everything they were saying was making so much sense. They were so articulate. You know, one doesn't expect women in India to know about politics, to know what's going on outside. They're supposed to be inside the home. So I was really inspired, and I was just there all the time. So spending that much time with them, I think I cultivated really beautiful relationships with these women, and they taught me so much. And I think I am who I am today because of them.
And it's not just that cultivation that you had with those individual people. It was also a bit of a cultivation of you and your religion and understanding who you are and what your roots are.
Right, because before that, I think I grew up in a very secular household. My parents never taught me to think about religion as an attribute of a person. It was just something about a person, and not the whole of a person. So when I started realizing that people are looking at me differently because of my surname, I had to sort of realize why is there Islamophobia? Why are people scared of me? Why don't people give me a house on rent in the national capital just because of my name? So because of that reason, as I spent more time with my community, I realized that link with my own community, and I realized that by shying away or from by not wanting to associate with my community, I was doing a disservice, and I was, as I said in the film, I was encouraging prejudices against my own community.
Let's talk a little bit more about the actual causes of the protest. Why were people so upset about this act?
I think this act, the main problem with the act was that no responsible politician or leader was coming to the protest or responding to the protesters and clarifying what they meant by this act. So they were always, there was this air of ambiguity always when they were talking about this act, and they always talked about it as we are going to out the infiltrators, we are going to weed out the termites and things like that. So they never clarified anything, and I think that's what they were going for. Their intention was of bigotry, so they wanted to maintain this ambiguity so that the people continue to feel insecure and pushed against the wall, and they start acting out. And when people start acting out, then they can be, labeled in certain ways, and it becomes then easier to, show them in negative light.
Do you see it as Islamophobic, though?
I think it was Islamophobic because Muslims were specifically excluded from the law, and I think that was enough to make people feel hurt, because India is a country where politics is circled largely around sentiments. So every election is a lot to do with sentiments. So doing something like that intentionally, I think it's anybody can guess that it's going to create a reaction.
And 3-4 years on now, how fearful are you for the future as a Muslim woman living in India?
So I think we have elections coming up in a couple of months again, and this rhetoric of CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act, is being brought up again by certain politicians. They're bringing it up in their rally speeches, where they're going and again talking about weeding out the termites and removing the infiltrators and not leaving a single infiltrator in the country and so on. And I think it's just a polarizing tactic, because I don't know how possible it is to actually go through with this Citizenship Amendment Act, how they can identify so many people and actually make them leave the country. I don't think it's economically or logically possible, but it just creates so much insecurity. And especially as a Muslim woman, I think it's getting even harder to have a presence, to have a voice, to, I have to censor myself so much when I'm talking about myself on social media, or if I'm talking in a panel discussion, I have to think so many times about each and every single word that I use. Whenever I'm applying for a visa or I'm about to fly out, I'm so anxious whether I'll be stopped at the airport. So, all of these things, even if nothing happens to me, I think the fear of something happening is just clouding over my life. And, there are so many such women who perpetually live in this fear, and we can't be vocal, we can't have a voice, we can't have an opinion, we can't voice what we're even going through. So I think that's how I would summarize my experience of being an Indian woman.
Just
Muslim.
15-20 seconds. Let me just ask you quickly. You won an award as well for the film Best Long Documentary. Very pleasing.
Yes, I did win Best Long Documentary in Kerala in India, and I also won the Citizens Prize at Yamagata in Japan. And I'm traveling to London very soon to show my film in Human Rights Watch Film Festival. So I hope that more people can engage with this topic and listen to what I have to say.
Enjoyed watching it very much. I watched it yesterday afternoon. Enjoyed it too. Thank you very much, Nausheen Khan, joining us there on the programme for today's Perspective.